broadcasting from the studios of AM 950 KTNF, the progressive voice of Minnesota, and airing on WCPT 820, Chicago's progressive talk. Welcome to The Gailey Show, the only daily LGBTQ radio news and talk show in the United States. I'm your host, John Parker. And no matter where you live, from Fire Island to New Orleans to Duluth to Saratoga Springs, California, we've got you here at The Gailey Show. I am joined by my executive producer, Jim Pounds, here in the AM 950 studio. We're also streaming on our YouTube channel right now. So if you like what we're doing, subscribe, click the like button, leave us a comment. Tell us how you're enjoying the show. Programming note for our listeners in Chicago. As a reminder, on Monday, December 8th, we are moving to a new time. So we're not going to be your morning drive anymore. We're going to be your evening 10 o'clock guests.
Relaxing time.
Your relaxing time, winding down. And if you don't like the Tonight Show or you don't want to watch the evening news, you can tune in here for some good queer news. So on Monday, December 8th, weeknights, 10 p.m. Here on WCPT 820. All right, it is Friday. We end our weeks talking about culture and entertainment because queer artists, writers, filmmakers, theater makers are one of the most censored groups in America. So every week we want to lift up their work for you to read, watch, or go to. What is on the show today? Well, we love bookstores on this show, and we're going to be talking about Boneshaker Books in Minneapolis with one of the volunteers who works there, Reno Taylor, in the second half hour of the show. But up first, it is the holidays. So I wanted to talk to the folks at the History Theater, specifically about their show Rollicking, a winter carnival musical. It's running now through December 21st. Joining me today from the show is Annika Isbell. This is her debut at the History Theater, as I am told, previously performed at 10,000 Things, and Artistry. Hello, Annika. Welcome to The Gailey Show.
Hello, I'm so excited to be here. Thank you for having me.
Okay, so for folks who know St. Paul, Minnesota, there is the gorgeous in the park there, ice sculptures that you can walk through every year. And this show takes kind of a riff on that, where we have a couple characters who disappear.
They disappear.
Realm. So tell us about Rollicking.
Yes, well, Rollicking is an original musical about the St. Paul Winter Carnival. It does feature some real people, Clarence Wigington and his wife Viola Wigington, who stumble into this magical Narnia, Oz-esque realm of the St. Paul Winter Carnival, where they meet all of the characters that diehard fans will know and love. Volcanus Rex, Klondike Kate, some Vulcans, and chaos, merriment, and ice ensue.
Okay, so at first I thought Wigington. This has got to be a made-up name. But
Nope.
No, real people. So tell us about Clarence Cap Wigington and his wife Viola.
Real people, yes. In the 1930s, Clarence Wigington was a Black architect living in St. Paul and designed the iconic St. Paul Winter Carnival Ice Palace. Was not originally given credit for his work. And this show also digs into some of the historical, social, political reasons as to why that happened. But it's a really interesting slice of Minnesota history, to feature real people and real people who were associated with the carnival. Louis Hill, the son of James Hill, and you definitely get that historical perspective. But then there's also a character named Baron Hotsparkus, which is a real part of the St. Paul Winter Carnival, but there's certainly something for everybody. But Cap Wigington is the architect of our story. We follow him as he encounters these characters and grapples with his marriage and what it means to be the literal and figurative architect of this magical realm that we play in for 2.5 hours.
Wow.
Well,
Yeah.
I love the last name. I love that you are recovering this history and
Mm.
enjoying it and playing with it. And so, what can folks like expect in there? Like, what's the music like?
Yes. Oh my gosh, great question. There is really something for everybody. If you like straight up Broadway musical theater, check. If you like a sassy girl power country western number, check. If you like really tender contemporary power ballads, we have that too. Keith Hovis, the composer and co-lyricist, really, I think, presents a beautiful spectrum of music. And yes, there's something that you will walk away humming for sure.
Wait, so I'm just realizing, do you have the ice sculptures like there on stage?
We have, yes,
Or like represented in some way?
yes.
Is it
Oh,
paintings or is it
yes.
like literal like sculptures, 3D?
We have both. We have an amazing creative team that contributed projections, lights, and also physical set pieces that look like a big ol' ice palace that you would see at the St. Paul Winter Carnival. It's so cool. It feels like we're in a winter wonderland every day.
Wow. I love that.
And you've got Randy Schmaling. I mean, he's top drawer. He's somebody that's been around a little while and has quite a reputation. I only know him a little bit, but
Yes.
he's noteworthy to me.
Yes, to me, to you, to me, to everybody. He's just a delight. He plays um Louis Hill, who is also Volcanus Rex, the King of
Right.
Fire. And so he and I get to do a bit of our show together, and he's just a delight. He's everything you think he is. Meet your heroes.
Yeah.
We are here with Annika Isbell, who is performing in Rollicking, a winter carnival musical, which is running through December 21st at the History Theater in St. Paul. So it's the Gailey show. So this is kind of an obligatory question. You are
Yeah.
part of the community, but is there any
Yeah.
queer history represented in Rollicking?
That's a great question. I I think truly that there are so many different communities represented in this show, all with the through line of authenticity.
Mhm.
I think that there are characters in the show, there are people who are patrons of the St. Paul Winter Carnival who are all interested in places where we can be ourselves.
Mhm.
And is there overt LGBTQ representation in this show? Not necessarily per se, but I think any space or any show or any story that focuses on what it means to come together in community and be your authentic self, even if that means wearing little Vulcan horns and running around terrorizing people, like that's important. And anytime you create space for one community to feel that,
Mm.
you're creating space for all communities to feel that.
Oh, totally.
Mhm.
It's kind
Yeah.
of like I'm not comparing things here, but like in my head, I'm thinking of like Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer, like that animated
Mhm.
special. Nobody's explicitly out in that thing, but it is super gay.
Well, and I think that is how, at least my hope is that everybody comes to this show and can see themselves somewhere.
Absolutely.
And I mean, I think there are a few characters I don't play, so I won't speak for them, but our Klondike Kate, she's flirting with everyone.
Okay,
She's
I
here
was
for
gonna
a good
say it, but I'm like,
time.
no, John, don't make it stereotypical. I'm like Klondike Kate. Hmm.
For those who can't see me, my eyebrows are in my hairline.
That's right.
Um, yes, exactly. So is it overt? I don't know that it is, but I also um I don't think this needs to be. I think people will
Oh, yeah.
come and be seen and see.
Yes.
I
And to
mean,
have queer
yes.
creators there and
Yes.
creating it is so important, which is why we
Yes.
wanted to talk to you, particularly here at the
Aw.
Gailey Show, about the work that you're doing there and the performance of it. And it's just It is very special, and I want to hear a little bit more though about the how do I phrase this question? Because this really does feel like an all ages show. Like I feel like there's things in there like King Boreas and Klondike Kate that like the kids are
Mhm.
gonna absolutely like love, that sort of, Grinch, Rudolph Reindeer, genre of things. But then because of all the history, I feel like adults will enjoy it too in an entertainment way, like learning things about, like I know of James Hill because there's like the house.
Mhm.
But I don't know beyond that. I'm like, the dude built a house, and that's
Well,
pretty much all I know.
there's more to it than that.
Well, and I think that's exactly right. This is absolutely a show for all ages. We have a 10 a.m. student matinee tomorrow.
Oh, wow.
So our
Very cool.
audience will be primarily children, which is so exciting. And I think the costumes and the design and the Grinch Chronicles of Narnia vibes that we're bringing will be so exciting and thrilling to them. And there's some snow magic that's so I think will at
Ooh.
least I'm hoping will inspire the young ones. But it's also the St. Paul Winter Carnival, and our
Mm.
audience on opening night was full of former King Boreas contestants,
Wow.
former Snow Queens, former Klondike Kates, former
Wow.
Vulcans, and I play a Vulcan, and my lines are often yelling "Hail the Volk," which is their kind of battle cry, and I had about 30 people screaming it back at me,
Yeah.
and that so adults of all ages, children of all ages have something in rollicking for sure.
Well, and obviously the recovery and the reclaiming of the history of Clarence Cap Wigington
Hmm.
and Viola, of the creators of the carnival and the ice sculpture, is also obviously very important to see that represented here as well. We are going to take a break. We're going to have more with Annika Isbell, who is performing in Rollicking, a winter carnival musical, which is currently playing at the History Theater in St. Paul. Runs through December 21st, folks, so don't wait on getting those tickets because they are going fast, looking at the website. So we're going to take that break. If you like what we're doing here at The Gailey Show and you're watching us on YouTube, click the alert icon. Just learned about this. It'll let you know every time that a new video comes out from you. I'm a baby YouTuber, just learning how to do it. You're listening to The Gailey Show. We'll be right back. Welcome back to The Gailey Show. I am John Parker. We're coming up on the bottom of the hour. Rollicking, a winter carnival musical, is now running at the History Theater through December 21st. Joining me is one of its performers, Annika Isbell. Annika, I am curious. The St. Paul Winter Carnival is obviously a tradition, annual tradition going back many decades. I am curious about your holiday traditions that you might recommend or share with our listeners.
Yes. Oh, I love Christmas. It is one of my favorite holidays. And no matter what holiday you celebrate at this time of year, I think the festive energy is just so infectious. But my favorite holiday traditions are anything to do with family. My family is so active and so musical, so we usually try to get together and sing Christmas carols every year. Um,
Unreal.
yes, which maybe sounds like it's something I made up, and it's not. It's not. My grandparents are incredibly musical. My mom is musical as well, and my sibling, my brother. So we get together with whoever we can coerce into singing with us and sing some old standards. That's certainly one that's very special to me.
What is your favorite or top three?
Top three, like all of like the golden oldies. I love we oh gosh, what are some we love to sing? We love to sing like good King Wenceslas. like
Oh, you're
we're
talking like
I'm
classic,
talking like
classic. Wow.
choral standards.
Yeah.
I'm talking about which the more I'm talking about it, the more people are gonna be like, what? But that's hey, It's the truth. We have these vintage like choral books from the 50s and we just flip through
Wow.
them. Yeah, and it's something we've done every year since I was pretty little. It's
Wow.
very cool. Yeah.
Wow.
That's
I don't
great.
know if Carol is it Carol of the Bells?
Yeah, I think
Oh,
that kind
is that
of.
like an old, like that is my favorite of all of
Yes.
the, and this was like before the Siberian Rock Orchestra got to it,
Yes.
which is also like phenomenal. It's their best song, but
We
that
don't have the
song.
budget for them yet.
I don't know what it is about that song, but every time I hear, I'm like, stop everything. We're listening. And I get annoyed when people in like movies start playing it, and I'm like, and then they cut away from it. I'm like, no. There's just something about it that is my favorite. I
Yes.
do want to also know because the Gaily show as well, and we like
Mhm.
to also give folks some queer joy. Is there any queer media, theater or musicals in particular, or maybe not, that you just find derived joy from? That you
Oh
believe?
my gosh. So many. I mean, um, I think right now I'm doing a Pose rewatch.
Mm.
Oh,
Oh,
yeah.
it's so good. And I don't want to give spoilers because it's very new, but it seems like this new season of Stranger Things is I don't want to spoil. It's the
Yeah.
episodes are new, but
Yeah.
they they took some feedback from the fans, I think, about so he's gay, right? And so she's gay, right? And they're making some stuff happen, which is very, I think, very special.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Especially people in my age group, like we grew up with this show. I in college when the first season came out. So to see some of that queer joy brought into that show is very, very fun.
Nice.
We've only seen the
The
first
first one
episode of the new
of the new
season, and
season.
it was like 17 years in between the seasons, and so I was trying to be like, what happened? And so when we saw
Mm,
one character
hmm
making out with their partner, let's say,
Yes.
in the first episode, I was like, oh, that's right.
That was going on.
Oh
I completely
yeah.
forgot. And then another character was accidentally watching that, not like
hmm
lurking or anything. And
Yes.
I was like, oh yeah, they are
Oh,
gay.
and he's a gay. Yes, it's very sweet. And I mean, we would be remiss in not mentioning the queer movie of the season, Wicked for Good.
I have not seen it yet. Have
I
you?
haven't seen it.
I have seen it and I won't spoil, but again, they were roommates.
Okay.
I don't think so.
Yeah.
That's
I
all
just
I'll
want
say.
to
Yeah.
does you can do this like a wink, like
Oh,
one
sure.
wink for no, what two
hmm
winks for yes. Does
hmm
Prince Fiero come out? That's all I care about.
I think they're all I think that
Folks on the
in
radio didn't see the wink.
there's something in the water at Shiz University, and I think that's magical. I think that's great, and everybody's fallen in love with each other, and
Yeah.
what could be better?
Yeah.
I mentioned the wink because I know from the first movie, like I'm sure all of these teenage girls just absolutely fell in love with Jonathan Bailey, and I'm like, wait till they find out who Jonathan Bailey is. They're either gonna love him more, or they're gonna be like, oh. But I was like I was just on another podcast this week. Like, who are you from Wicked? It was like all gay podcast, and I'm like, I'm
Sure.
the boy from the first movie who turned instantly gay when Prince Fiero winked at him in that library dancing scene.
And we're all that little boy.
We have I've taken this in an entirely
You
different.
certainly have.
We are talking
I love it.
with Annika Isbell, who is performing in Rollicking, a winter carnival musical, which is running through December 21st at History Theater. To come back to the show,
Yes.
for folks who are going to be attending here, only running through December 21st, folks,
hmm
is there a particular song that is your favorite from the show?
Oh my gosh. I mean, there are two. So I'm lucky enough to be I'm in the ensemble, one of four people who plays many, many parts. So I get to be on the team of King Boreas and the team of Volcanus Rex. So that's very fun for me. And my two favorite songs, I'll let you guess which one is in support of which king. Um, Make It a Hot One is a favorite of mine. Joey Miller, our choreographer, gave us a fierce Broadway jazz dance break, which is so fun to do every night. And then my other favorite number is called Chosen Frozen Family. And
Oh, perfect.
I mean, even, like we were talking about, the concept of chosen family, I
Yeah.
think is something that is so important to this community. And we've got one. We use that phrase that I think is so meaningful to the LGBTQ community, that concept of chosen family. And ours is just frozen. We're just a little chilly.
The show is Rollicking, a winter carnival musical. It is at the History Theater in St. Paul, Minnesota, running through December 21st. You can get your tickets at historytheater.com. After Rollicking, you can see Annika in a chorus line coming up at Park Square Theater. You can follow her on Instagram for all of the details. Her handle is Annie, ANNI.Isbell, ISBELL on Instagram. Thank you, Annika, for joining us today on The Gaily Show.
Thank you so much for having me. This was amazing.
All right. Well, definitely, friend of the show. We'll have you back anytime. Tell us when you're coming up in a new production. Folks, we're going to take a quick break here. You're listening to The Gaily Show on AM 950 Radio and WCPT 820. Coming to you from the studios of AM 950 KTNF, the progressive voice of Minnesota, and airing on WCPT 820, Chicago's Progressive Talk. Welcome back to The Gaily Show, the only daily LGBTQ radio news and talk show in the United States. I am your host, John Parker. We are already 33 minutes after the hour. I'm in studio here with my executive producer, Jim Pounds, also streaming on our YouTube channel. So if you like what we're doing, subscribe, click the like button, leave us a comment. I want to hear from you all. So as you can imagine, I love a good bookstore, especially if it is a leftist radical bookstore. And now located at 708 West 26th Street in Minneapolis, Boneshaker Books is open 7 days a week. And according to their website, bookshop Boneshaker Books aims to exemplify what a collectively run leftist space can be. Wow. It is volunteer run, and one of those volunteers joins us now, Reno Taylor. Hello, Reno. Welcome to The Gaily Show.
Hi, John. I'm so happy to be here joining y'all to talk about one of my favorite places.
Yeah, well, I can see why. It was really hard when I was at the previous location earlier this fall to only walk away with 2 books, and they were really good. So that's my first question for you. Tell us about the books that Boneshaker sells, but the reason why you're selling these particular books and what you hope readers get from them.
Yeah, so like you said, we describe ourselves as like a radical leftist bookstore. So we have a good mix of fiction and nonfiction. So we try to carry a lot of we do have some dense theory, things like that. If you really want to get into the nitty gritty of Marx and capitalism, break down gender theory, what those things mean. But something that I also love about Boneshaker is we also have a pretty robust fiction section. We have lit fic, we have graphic novels, which is a section I'm frequently digging in. But even within all of these different genres, we really try to prioritize stories that you might not find in other bookstores, stories from marginalized groups, and stories that are just kind of talking about the world we want to build, and then we also, in addition to the books, we have a ton of amazing local artists that can sign zines, prints, things like that, jewelry, and so lots of fun stuff.
I have to. One of the books that I got from there was a book on anarchism, but it was a book talking about how anarchists really pushed the United States to develop the robustness of free speech laws and what they went through, a lot of them, to get those, and how like our understanding of like civil rights legislation related to that came out of this movement. And I was like, it's a fascinating book. I was so glad to grab it. I also got the Jason Stanley one about how does fascism work. And I'm like, yeah, we should be doing a quick learning. I mean, we're all seeing it, but you know, and for folks who don't know, Jason Stanley was one of the 3 professors who left the U.S. Earlier this year, moving to Canada. I think he's teaching at McGill right now as a sort of warning sign. Was at Columbia and was like, y'all, what's happening here? Warning bells, warning bells. But Boneshaker Books is not just a bookstore. You are very involved within the community as well, and creating a community space. Can you talk about the partners that you have sharing space with at the bookstore?
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm really glad that you brought that up, because like something that you talk about a lot is like the loss of third spaces. And there's not a lot of spaces where you can just go and exist with other people for free. And like, yes, we are a bookstore, but you don't have to buy anything to come in. But so we do like to be like beyond a bookstore, like a community space. So we have some area like for folks to meet. So we have some groups that meet pretty regularly at the bookstore. We have a zine club that meets twice monthly. We have Black and Pink Minneapolis, which is a group that coordinates a pen pal program and letter writing for incarcerated folks in the Midwest. We also are a donation drop-off point for Sanctuary Supply Depot, which is an awesome org in the Twin Cities that gets really necessary resources, tents, clothes, foods to like our unhoused neighbors that really need it. And yeah, we have local authors who will do readings at the bookstore. And so any like clubs or groups in the Twin Cities that are like looking for a space to host events or meetings, we'd be happy to have you over at Boneshaker. There's no cost to like rent the space.
Tell us about the depot and like how folks like with the things that you're looking for people to like drop off and donate, and then what that process is like, because it's a thing right now, unfortunately, in the Twin Cities.
Very needed. We definitely try to keep like an awareness of like the season that we're in. So going into winter, if you're thinking of dropping off clothes, it's hard because as we switch seasons, a lot of folks are looking to get rid of clothes for the previous season, but you know, now is not really the time for like tank tops and shorts. So we try to keep like aware of the needs that arise like with like the current weather that we're in. So, but you know, things like if you go to Costco, you can get a box of the little like hand warmers. Those are always great to have to drop off. And, you know, winter coats, really good gloves, hats. We get into these, you know, really, really cold season that's hitting our way. And anytime we're open, folks are welcome to just come by the store and drop it off. We might ask like, oh, what are you dropping off, to make sure that we're not filling up the space with things that aren't a high need right now for the depot. But yeah, it's a pretty simple process.
Does the depot distribute from there, or do they have other locations that they then take the donations to?
Yeah, we're just like a donation drop-off location. So then the depot will come by and pick up, and they distribute kind of mobily and then at a couple different locations. But yeah, we're not like a distribution for supplies.
And as a convening place, as a you have that meeting room that you that folks can use. Talk to us about that.
Yeah, it's been a little, that's one of the things that has kind of changed as we've done the move, is our meeting space is a little less like before. It was like kind of a separate room with a door. And so we're in the process of like figuring out how we can still like have that space and like meet folks' needs. But it's been kind of fun because some of the events now have kind of like stretched more into the space of the store. So like if you walk into the store every other Friday at like 7 p.m., you can shop for a book, and you're also going to see tables of folks like making zines and things like that. And like a couple of weeks ago, someone had brought like a typewriter. And so it was just like, you're just in this quiet little bookstore and you just hear the sound of someone click-clacking away.
I love a good typewriter. I have one right now, and I'm having problems with the tape. I got to figure out the tape situation on there. Neither here nor there. I am curious, as a volunteer run bookstore and as a radical leftist bookstore, like how do you all go about selecting the books that you are going to sell?
That's a good question. We basically, it's like you said, like we're volunteer run. So how we kind of structure that is we have like different committees that kind of like help support like with the like day to day like management of the store and also like long term things like like, like finances. Like we don't have a boss, we don't have a manager, so we all kind of share those responsibilities. And so our ordering process is pretty collaborative. We have a few folks who are like regularly like ordering, making sure we're like reordering books that folks are actively buying. But one thing that I like as a volunteer is any volunteer is welcome to be like, oh, I just found out about this like really cool book. Like if we could have this in the store and share it. And so there is like a like values alignment level, like we're not gonna, there's some things that we're just not gonna carry. But typically most folks who are already volunteering at Boneshaker are really gonna suggest those. So it's pretty collaborative. It's not just like one person deciding like this is what's a good fit for the store. We kind of all get a say in it. And if there's ever something where it's like, oh, we like this book is on the shelf and maybe this isn't something that we want to have in the store, we're always able to have like bring it, to the group and have conversations about it.
We're here with Reno Taylor, who is a member of the Boneshaker Collective, which runs the leftist radical bookstore Boneshaker Books in the Wedge neighborhood of Minneapolis. And there's not just book buying and reading going on there, there's the zine making. Zines, I feel like, are an underappreciated history of queer radical leftist organizing. Talk to me about that process. Like, what are the, like, how do people go and create zines at Boneshaker Books?
Yes, I am a big fan of zines. I love talking about this. I always, anytime my friends are like telling me a story or anything, I'm like, oh, that would make a really good zine. But one of the powerful things about zines is that they're DIY. You don't need permission to make them and put them out. And so we do have some folks. We have a risograph printer at Boneshaker Books, which some folks do use for like some kind of zine. So a risograph printer, for folks who don't know, I'm not the best to explain it, but it's an older type of printer that prints basically one color at a time. So if you're like making a design and you like you're really doing manually like that CMYK stacking like cyan and magenta to make different blends. So some folks print at Boneshaker, and sometimes if you want to print a zine, all you need is just like a regular old, printer printing in black and white. So, we have folks who it's like a variety of levels. Some folks are going to places and like getting things like printed and stapled and collated. And then some folks are, just printing something at home or at the library. I'm a big proponent of using the Hennepin County Library free prints. If you get a library card, everyone gets some free prints. And then we have the zine club that happens bi-weekly, and folks will come in and be like, oh, I need some help figuring out like the layout of this. Like I want this page to go into this. And so something that I also really like about zines is people who make zines are always excited to talk about them. We're always excited to like give people hints. And so I always say, like, if you're curious about it, just like talk to someone who's already doing it, because almost certainly they will be so excited to offer you tips and tricks and all their knowledge.
I love that, there's some people that are like, oh, that would, constantly on the lookout for a good band name. You're like, oh, that would be a good band name. And you're here like, that would make a good zine. Do you then like do you have like racks for them, like be able to distribute the zines that people make?
Yeah, absolutely. So we have like a whole like we have some like two kind of like racks totally full of zines. There's two ways folks can distribute zines. So they can be a consigner and sell their zines at Boneshaker. But we also have a free shelf that is for like community resources. And sometimes when folks are making zines about things that like they just like want folks to know, like things about how to maybe do like some digital security. If you make, or even if we just had a volunteer drop off some zines about their favorite like bird spotting spots in the city. So also if you make a zine that you're like not trying to sell, you just want to get in folks' hands, you can bring it by the free shelf anytime. And it's a great spot for folks to peruse. I definitely check out what's on there every time I'm in for a shift.
I love that. I love that. I feel like that, back in the day, wow, I'm just about to date myself, but like now everybody's got a podcast, and I felt like I sometimes I'm like, wouldn't it just be nice if everyone had a zine again? It's the tactileness of it. Yep. You can have it there like on your shelf. You can have a stack of them, and then now we just got the podcast. This is a big question, and I am notorious for asking big questions before we go into a break. So we've got just about 2 minutes here before we get there. I am curious, because you are a leftist radical bookstore. May I ask, what has your take been on the past 12 months of America right now?
I mean, that is a big question. 2 minutes. I think that,
We'll continue after the break.
yeah,
Initial
I
thoughts, initial observations.
I think one thing we try to hold is that like the last 12 months we've been seeing like an escalation and like a ramping up in, fascism, like violence against people. And but I think like when we have, bookshelves full of, leftist history, you see that a lot of this isn't new. A lot of this has been happening to folks just quieter for a long time. And so I think like there just is a need to be like aware to always, respond. But, if you stay ready, you don't have to get ready. And so a lot of folks have been seeing these things coming down on the horizon for a really long time. We have a lot of really amazing writers and activists that have really been like oracles for where we are at now. And so I think it's just finding that balance of the work has changed a little bit, but in some ways it hasn't. It's kind of always been there, and we just need to get it done.
I want to pick that up when we come back from this break. We're going to have more with Reno Taylor, member of the Boneshaker Collective, which runs the leftist radical bookstore Boneshaker Books. Before we take that break, please check out our GLAAD Media Award nominated podcast. I just said everyone's got a podcast. We do too. This queer book saved my life. I interview LGBTQ guests across the rainbow about the queer books that had a life-saving impact for them. You can check it out at thisqueerbook.com or everywhere that you get your podcasts. We're going to take a quick break here. More with Reno and Boneshaker Books when we come back. See you on the flip side. Welcome back to the Gailey Show. I'm John Parker. We're coming up on the top of the hour. Boneshaker Books in Minneapolis is a leftist and radical bookstore who also shares space with other organizations, community organizations within the Twin Cities, for example, Sanctuary Supply Depot. It is volunteer run, and one of those volunteers is our guest right now, Reno Taylor. Reno, you were talking about before the break how a lot of the books that you all sell at Boneshaker sort of, like we've been through this before. And I was talking about that book that I got from you all earlier in the show about anarchists and free speech and how all the lawsuits that we would recognize today. And it was pretty scary how much free speech laws were not enforced 100 years ago, at like the turn of the 20th century. And some of the, like right now we're all up in arms, or we were earlier this summer, about Jimmy Kimmel losing a TV show, and there are stories in there of people literally being run out of town, like almost beaten to death, having words like with cigars and cigarettes like burned into their skin. I was like, this was happening like in America. I mean, it is terrifying, the stuff that we went through in this country. And so to be sort of realizing like, oh my God, like, this is very not even cyclical. It's like part of our DNA. Some of this stuff that we're dealing with here. It's not like a new thing that Trump is doing. It's sort of like he's just sort of a continuation of a lot of ugliness that has been here that we've sort of, tried to like say we've moved beyond that. And it's like, no, actually, we haven't moved beyond that. And so my actual question that's coming out of that is, do you see an uptick of a particular type of book or topic that's being sold more over the past like 12 months? Like I was saying earlier, like fascism. I wanted to, start to, bone up on what that was about at Boneshaker Books. But do you see a particular topic area that you're selling more of now that the Trump administration's been in there for the last 12 months?
That's a good question. And it like makes me want to, I wish I could like pull up the data and like really get into the nitty gritty of it. But I'm thinking just like anecdotally, there's been, I like want to say like there's been some interest in things about like activism and like community care, and things of just like really like what are the steps we take to like this world, like the status quo is not working, like we obviously need to do something different, so like what are the actual steps we can take. We've also been bulking up on things, and there's been a lot of interest in things about like to help encourage like independence and self-reliance, like things about like sewing and mending and things like that, and how can you garden in a way where you have extra for your
Yeah.
community. And so I feel like there's been a lot of focus on like things that feel actionable.
Part of the reason, I mean, I just love the books that you have there. But another thing that I love about Boneshaker books is, there's all this like, oh, the radical lefties and this, we have one narrative about it. So folks who are listening right now are progressives. They're going to be, on the left side of the spectrum. I know we've got some, moderate Democrats, who are here as well. But if you're actually curious what a radical leftist is, how radicals can organize and run an organization, there's Boneshaker books where you can go and actually see the truth of what this is. And guess what? It's not terrifying. It's actually really useful and really necessary to where we're at as a country right now. Okay, so I'm sure there's stuff that I've missed here about Boneshaker. I mean, plug, what are things that I haven't asked you about that you want folks to know about?
I think, I would just want to say something that I think is like special about being a collective is there's really not like one person that like speaks for all of us. And so I'm like happy to like sit here and share like my perspective, but I do love it. It's like you talk to so many different volunteers, and so many volunteers have like so many different experiences, and everyone is viewing the store and like the work we do through like their own lens. And something that I think is like cool is like oftentimes like it's like a common narrative is like leftist infighting, like difficulties, things like that. And I feel like we are always like working towards like maintaining like we agree, like even if some of us like in the like minutia of like how we want to problem solve, like we agree that like these are the problems and that like this status quo isn't working. And so I really think it's really special to me because like every day like it is like proof of that like we can do things and get things done outside of this like capitalist narrative we've been told of like how we have to do it. Like we moved an entire business, like managed like lease signing and all of that, completely volunteer run. And there are some people who think if people don't get paid, they're not going to do anything. But people care, and people want to like build their community and like build the world they have. And so I think Boneshaker is so special because it shows that like there is an intrinsic, and there should be, need and desire in us to just like do things that we care about and think are important. And so many of us don't have the time and energy for that because of capitalism. But like I think Boneshaker is just like proof that like we don't need bosses and all of these always hierarchical structures, someone in charge. Like to be productive, we can come together and do things collaboratively. And I like it means more to me. Like I have more of like we all have more of like a vested interest and buy-in because it's something that we have like all shaped, which I think is just like so special and not something I've like experienced, like been able to actively like really immerse myself and experience in a lot of times.
When folks are like say that to me about like the organizational stuff, and I'm like, okay, would you rather have a say in what's going on, or do you want to have a jerk like Trump telling you what to do? And immediately you see like it short circuits them. But the website is boneshakerbooks.com. While you're there, you can shop online, check out upcoming events, learn more about making zines and their risograph printing services. You can find out how to book the meeting room on Instagram. The handle is at Boneshaker Books, also on Blue Sky as well. Reno, thank you for joining us today.
Thank you for having me. This was so fun.
Okay. And thank you everyone for listening today. If you are on YouTube, please subscribe, leave us a comment. How did you like today's episode? And for folks on WCPT 820, up next is Choose Views with Richard Chu here in Minneapolis on AM 950 Radio. It is the Matt McNeil Show. After that, Native Roots Radio. And then stay tuned at 10 p.m. Central for Ghost Box Radio with Greg Bakken. And until this time on Monday, keep it queer, America, unless you're in Chicago. And then we're going to be at our new time, weeknights at 10 p.m. as well. All right, now, keep it queer, America.